You're listening to First Paso. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first paso. Hello and welcome to First Paso, a show where we learn together how to take that first paso toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and guys, tomorrow's my 35th birthday. It's finally almost here. That is insane. I'm still processing this. I haven't totally sat and just thought deeply about it, but I'm starting to. And I kind of sort of started my birthday celebrations last week, starting with people sending me gifts from my Amazon wish list, and I'm loving it again. Please keep sending me gifts. They're so awesome, and it's wild. It is so wild to me that people would do this because I don't celebrate myself. I don't like having to plan my own celebration. It just doesn't feel right for me to ask people to celebrate me. So to even have put it out there again this year and been like, hey, like if you want to celebrate me in a way and like actually get me things I like and would want, here's my list. And like, sorry for bothering everybody. And yet people are sending me stuff, and it's cool to see Amazon packages that are coming in that you didn't order, someone else ordered for you. I love that. So thank you to those who have already been sending me gifts. I'm loving them a lot. And thanks for people who have been posting on my posts that I've been posting, because I'm celebrating my birthday for over a week. I try to do this when I can and when I feel the unction to, and so that's what I'm doing right now. So I actually started with a birthday dinner with family and friends on Saturday night, and that was really nice. It was an introverted, lovely time. We had Indian cuisine, and it was so good. Okay. Still dreaming about that restaurant. Enjoyed ourselves so much with the conversations and the laughter and the deep questions that were posed at the table toward me about what I want for the year 35 and what are my plans and what are my aspirations, all those things. It was just so nice to have people that I love that are close to me just willing to have a simple meal with me. It was nice. On Sunday, I actually went to a free dance class that was hosted by Debbie Allen. Yes, the Debbie Allen. And honestly, she was the sweetest human being on the planet, just like an auntie, and very warm and friendly. Her dance academy has these free classes for people in LA who are affected by the fires, and we're also recovering for real. And it's nice that she has this open space to just move your body in different ways. So I did a 3-hour, 3-hour dance class, but it was 3 different classes. So we did an African style dance to start. Then we did contemporary dance with a former contestant of Dancing with the Stars, who was awesome. And then we had a hip hop instructor come in and teach us some hip hop at the end, which is where my debut happened because the instructor, Dexter Carr, had asked people who had a February birthday to come and do the routine he had just taught us in the center of the room. So I go out there, I'm like, yeah, that's me. And I'm looking around for who else. And then we realize I'm the only February birthday in the room. And there were like 60 people present. And I'm like, how now, brown cow, are no February birthdays other than me in this space? So it ended up being a solo dolo, guys. And it wasn't the best. I haven't danced in a long time, but I had a great time. And it was actually like a God wink to me that I had this opportunity to shine when I wasn't feeling very secure that day. I was not feeling good about how I looked, how I felt in my body, but I was having a lot of fun And my friends that were there were cheering me on. The whole room was cheering me on. And if you want to see that video, it's actually on my Instagram. I'll probably post it here on YouTube as well. So just look out for it and feel free to share your comments on what you thought about that moment. But for me, even though I really wasn't sure if I should post it just based on my own insecurities, I decided to post it anyway because of my own insecurities. I figured those insecurities, they're not going to hold me back from sharing a moment that I really enjoyed despite wishing other people were dancing with me. But it was awesome. And so now I'm just preparing for the week ahead. I don't know what my friends have planned for me for my birthday, but they said they have them. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, which is actually awesome because I actually love surprises a ton. I love being surprised. So if someone is planning something for me and they're surprising me, top tier already. I don't even care what it is. They could be ready to take a picture in a cow costume and I will be pleased. I just love surprises. So that's what I've been doing leading up to my birthday. So if you still want to bless me for my birthday, I'm going to keep my birthday list open until the end of March. So a month out from my birthday on March 27th, it'll close. That'll be the last day. So feel free to bless me or do hashtag happy birthday Candace on social media. Comment about how my show or anything that I've posted has impacted your life in a positive way. I would love to read those things and hear from you guys. And just knowing that people care about me and even want to wish me a simple happy birthday, Candace, online or send me a text or call me. I love that. And that already warms my heart. So thank you if you've already done that. And thank you to those who are sending them my way. With all that being said, I actually want to talk today about the concept of rest in the season of transition. Ooh, we live in a whirlwind world. We just going over here. At least, let me be clear, at least in these here United States of America, okay? We keep it busy over here. We don't do siestas like that, okay? In fact, if you do too many siestas, people think that you're just a loser or you're not 10xing or whatever. All these lingos and expectations, just over it. The reason why I want to bring up rest is because I am learning to break the cultural norm of not resting too long. Background, I come from an upbringing where Sabbath was kept. So the Sabbath, according to the Bible, which I always have nearby, is from Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. That's how God created Sabbath from Genesis chapter 2, starting in verse 1. I think 1 through 3 are the verses that explain how the Sabbath was created. And that space was for us to spend time together with God and with other people. And it's been a perpetual thing forever. So I grew up doing Sabbath, keeping Sabbath, but I didn't enjoy resting. Sabbath means to rest, to cease, to pause, right? And I just didn't enjoy these little weekly sabbaticals. I thought they were boring. I thought they kept me from my friends and all the fun things that usually happen on Saturdays, like Saturday cartoons and birthday parties and all these things. But as I got older, I started to realize how grateful I was to have Sabbath, to actually rest my body and chill out. There's a fine line between resting and being lazy, like not doing anything, no work, all play. You can't eat if you just playing. You gotta also do something. Not that your work can't be fun, right? But you have to do something to make sure that you're sustaining yourself. So I've been, since college, really leaning into this idea of rest. But what I have been transitioning into more in the last couple of years, more so probably since I left pharmacy at the end of August of 2021, is this concept of not needing to be going, and doing life alone until I'm burnt out. So my approach to rest has become more holistic. And I want to talk about this today because I think sometimes when we hear the word rest, we need to take a rest, we think of vacation and we want to I don't know, go on a trip, go on a cruise, take naps, go hiking or something, which is restful. I'm not saying that's not restful, but we oftentimes forget that our bodies need a rhythm of rest. Actually, weekly, it's built into the system the way God designed it for us, and we can rest. And I know this sounds very countercultural. Like, why are we pausing? Why are we stopping? There's so many things to do. People are gaining followers and they're getting their careers and they're reaching their financial goals and all these things. Like, why rest? I don't have time to rest. I'm trying to catch up. I already feel behind. All these things. I know we worry about these things. I'm right there with you. Okay, I'm still navigating this. But we're talking about it because I think it's deeper than just stopping and going on a vacation or stopping and taking a nap. I think there's a more holistic view of rest. There are people that are trying to implement rhythms of rest with their social media, with how they're watching content. I like to do rhythms of rest with my body as it pertains to what I eat and when I eat, meaning that I implement fasting, specifically fasting and praying together as rhythms in my weekly routine. And then, of course, I have Sabbath where I spend time with friends and family. I go to church and I rest and I think more on things that are holy and uplifting and Christ centered versus, oh my goodness, I need to put out an episode and oh my goodness, I need to record this and I need to send this email and I need to call so and so about this thing. And then I try to put all that away. But the aspect of rest that I really want to dig deeper in this episode is resting our minds and our hearts and our spirits. It's easy to look at the body needing rest first because we feel it. Like it's a physical sentiment that goes through our system where we're like, man, I'm tired. I need a nap. Man, I'm tired. I need to get away. I do believe that because we're in this mental health shift in culture that's way bigger and way more expansive than it was when I was growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, we are thinking more about, mental health, emotional health. I don't always think that the advice that we have, though, is very helpful. I think we I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday. I think we sometimes, because we're so Googled in our mental health experiences, and a lot of us have actually gone to therapy. I've gone to therapy, and many of us have had life coaches. I've had them. I am one. Some of us have had psychiatrists and mentors, pastors, people that we've spoken to try to navigate life, right? We have that. And so we've learned a lot from those experiences. And a lot of people are using platforms like podcasts, hello, to share those things that they've learned. And we're becoming more vocal as a society, at least in Western society, on how these things have been beneficial and what we're learning and what we're researching. And this research paper I read and this video I saw on this professional who was on this podcast or this YouTube channel I really love and what they were saying. And like, we are really educating ourselves and bombarding ourselves with information. But because there's so much information, I don't think we're even resting our minds to not have to think so deeply on how to navigate our day to day. What I've been resting in more so in the last year is the simple life. Because our society is so go, go, go and do, and people are trying to fill in all these spaces with something to do, I keep thinking, what were people doing when they didn't have social media all the time? They didn't have the Netflix. They didn't have YouTube to be watching. Like, what were we doing? I mean, I lived in that era for a bit, internet was around, but not until 1996? And things were simple. We were out with our friends. We were sharing what was going on in our lives. We were playing, we were experiencing people, and even having moments of solitude and quiet to just sit and read under a tree. Or me, I used to sit on top of my car when I had a car, like my first car, and would sit under the stars and just soak in the quiet and beauty of the night sky. Like, we are so wrapped up in this ability to get ahead and figure out and do this adulting life that we don't give our minds time to really rest. Even when we say, like, I'm gonna take time away from people, we're often bombarding ourselves with social media and videos and text messages and all these things. We don't know how to stay away from our phones. We don't know how to allow our brains to just chill out. My problem, transparent moment, is always wanting to learn. I'm a thinker, I'm a ponderer. I have so many but why questions. That's how God made me, and I love that about myself. And even I need to intentionally get myself to rest, to chill out, to not think so deeply about everything. Sometimes allowing things to just be without an answer, that's a form of rest. Worry is a form of work. Stress is a form of work. Anxiety is a form of work. Some of these things are clinical, and some of these things are not. And some of these things are a mix of both. And so we do have some control, and a lot of that control is in community. If we have community, we're able to bear our burdens to one another and allow other people to help us navigate those things. But if we don't have community and we actually do life alone, we don't have people to confide in, sometimes it actually keeps us in our thoughts more because we don't have people to bounce our ideas off of. And we don't have someone to say, like, hey, just don't think about it. Don't try to figure out the problem. Don't try to solve this. Don't try to figure out what the cause for this thing was. Maybe it just was. And maybe it's not your business to know. Maybe God doesn't need you to know the whys behind everything, because this world is way too complicated to try to be our own God and try to figure out the causations for everything. Just rest your mind. I'm saying that because this has been a constant thing in my recent friendship conversations of needing to be reminded that not everything has a causation. And even if it does, it's not the end of the world. The end of the world is when it's your last breath. That's the end of your world. And that's the only thing you need to worry about. Outside of that, there's opportunities to grow, there's opportunities to evolve. And in this moment, let's just stay present. Let's stay in the now and rest our worried thoughts. Let's rest our anxious thoughts, place them on the side, write them out so you can get them out of your head and do something else, or don't do anything. Just don't. This is a challenge to rest our minds. And I'm hoping that in having this conversation, we're looking for more opportunities to find a way to rest our minds. Constantly being stimulated by information does not help. Constantly being stimulated by the notifications that we get on our devices also doesn't help. And maybe the environment that we're in makes that more challenging. But there are ways to find solitude for our minds. And some of those things for me is prayer, journaling, reading, going outside for walks, and just giving my mind an opportunity to just not. It's like how they tell you to let your phone die, like actually let it die versus continuing to keep it charged. Even when it gets to 1% and you're like, oh, I'm gonna quickly plug it in. Okay, if you're on a phone call, plug it in so you don't drop the call. But if you're not and you're just kind of on your phone, or you're not and it's just by you, let it die. Let it rest. Turn off your computer. Let it sleep through the night. And then you can start it over in the morning. Just like our bodies naturally want to go to sleep at certain hours of the day, our devices need that too. And in our devices getting that and us giving our devices those just die moments, we can give ourselves rest from being bombarded by the things that distract us with those devices. So that's one area, but also emotional rest. Oh, I'm learning a completely different way of understanding emotional rest. I actually didn't realize that for myself, emotional rest was basically putting it off to the side, pretending that I'm not having the emotions that I'm having, and get over it. Just have joy in your life. Just be happy. Just smile. All is well. That's how I was approaching rest. And in reality, that's not healthy. That's not good. But it's something that a lot of us have been taught. It's that, keep grinding. You can rest when you're dead. You can cry when you're dead. Like, just move on. Don't just sit in these emotions that you're having. They're a hindrance to your growth. They're a hindrance to your 10x life. I am taking a step back from that messaging, and I'm offering it to myself, and I'm extending it to you to allow yourself to feel the emotions that you have, to allow yourself and to allow myself to process through emotions and feelings. Emotions and feelings are not the same, but they are related. And I'm still a believer in that not every emotion or feeling we have is from us. Again, we live in a spiritual world, so things be happening and we can adopt other people's emotions, or there are triggered things that happen that don't have anything really to do with us. Might just be the vicinity that we're in, or, spiritual warfare. I'm a believer in spiritual warfare. It happens. It's happened to me. It's a thing. But this idea that everything that we're feeling, everything that we're thinking, everything that's emoting out of us is from us, I don't think that's true. However, I do think it's important to assess what is going on, because it might navigate you in a direction that would help you figure out where it's coming from. I also realize that a lot of emotions that we have or responses that we have to scenarios have nothing to do with the present scenario. They actually have something to do with other things from our past that is so relatable to the body. The body is keeping score of things that have happened, even if my mind can't remember. My body is going, hey, this reminds me of a time when this happened and I don't want to relive this again, or this was scary, or this was really enjoyable for me. And I just have these emotions that come up. So being able to actually assess and release those emotions is a form of giving yourself rest, because the more that we hold them in, or we try to bypass ourselves, or we've told ourselves, or it's been told to us that our emotions don't matter, that we should ignore them all, that how we feel doesn't matter, that these are hindrances to our lives, we need to be mature, we need to level up, all these things that basically tell us to pretend that our emotions aren't happening. It's actually deteriorating our system. Our physical bodies deteriorate when we hold those things in. A lot of sickness is because we're not releasing what's going on in our spirit, in our heart, in our mind. So a form of rest is release. Release what is coming up in you and letting it out of you. Again, through journaling, that's a great way to let it out. Sometimes through dance, moving your body can allow for certain emotions to come. Something I've been practicing recently is recognizing when I want to cry, and it's like it's in there, but it's not coming out. I've learned to just sit and rest, like relax my body, just sit still in a chair or to lay down on the floor and breathe slowly until the tears start flowing. And it's been so great. I don't even know where I got that. It was like an instinctive thing that I started doing a few months ago, and it's been beneficial. In fact, I just did that this week. So it's something that I'm trying to practice more and give myself permission to emote emotions that I didn't believe I had the permission to before in my younger years and even in my recent adult years. Things that I thought were not allowed, things that I thought were an embarrassment, things that I thought were just not the mature thing to do. I'm learning that it's actually a very brave thing to do to allow the weakness to be felt through my body. And that's actually where I regain my strength for later. I need to rest, even emotionally. And I don't want to emotionally rest alone. That's why I also have friends who, when we have capacity for each other, which I realize spending time together and being open and honest with each other creates space for more energy and capacity to hold those spaces for each other. I thought it exhausted me more, but that was because I was unbalanced. This might sound familiar to you. Have you ever been in a situation where you feel like, man, I'm just drained by people and I just really cannot? It's probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's oftentimes in situations where we're giving a lot more than we're getting back. And we often try to force those experiences when we don't feel like it's being reciprocated. And I think the reason why we force it is because we actually need the balance. We need the balance beam to happen. That seesaw, it goes up and down, right? We need a balance in how weights are being transferred emotionally and mentally. But when we're doing it all on our own, like we feel like, "Ah, I'm just going to carry everybody's burdens. Y'all can talk to me about all this stuff." And people just come and tell you whatever they want to tell you, however they want to tell you. You start realizing, like, I just want to be away from people. Like, I can't do this. It happens when we give ourselves to our jobs all the time. And it's like we're always giving, 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 giving our advice. We're giving our time. We're giving our resources. We're giving and we're giving and we're giving, but the replenishing isn't happening. We can't always be the ones to replenish ourselves. We actually need people outside of us to replenish. What we can't do is force those things. And I talked about that the last episode. We can't give and expect someone else to have to give it back. That is their choice. That is their autonomy. That is their opportunity to make a decision if they feel comfortable and led to share back with you and give you back, pour back into you. If that's not their ministry, or if that's not their ministry for you, that's fine. Gotta explore and find other people to have those exchanges with naturally and mutually. So, our emotions and I guess our mental energy, our thoughts need rest by getting the reciprocal flow, like waves crashing up and down the shore of energy exchange. When it comes to the emotions that I'm feeling, I want to share them with a friend. Sometimes I want to do them by myself and I'll talk to the Lord about it and it's fine. But having someone there that's willing to sit in that versus demonize me for it or tell me I'm being dramatic and all these things, it's so much better to have someone in your corner to share what's going on inside of you and them doing it back, and you get to help them through their emotional experiences. When it's an ebb and flow, it's actually more restful. When it's just an ebb and there's no flow back, that's where I think you get the most burnout. And there are very specific people in our lives when we encounter them and they are a blessing to us that actually energize us just from being in their presence, like who they are brings us energy. And that energy that we get from them is a restful energy. Like I can rest in the energy that you give me. I can relax in my humanness, which means my emotions can relax, my thoughts can relax. I don't have to be so anxious and trying to figure out, oh my goodness, if I say this, if I do this, they're gonna like me, they're gonna say this, or they're gonna tell somebody, they're gonna cut me off. I don't have to do any of that. The restful energy that is in a safe person, a person that gets me, or it's just, they just have that way about them. It's a new, what's the word? It's like a paradox, really. That energy can be so restful with the right people, and rest can be so energizing with the right people. The paradox that energy and rest can be together because the right people are in our inner sphere. Man, I've experienced that more this year than I ever have in my entire life. And I didn't even know that was a thing, but I'm realizing these paradoxical moments are more available to us than we've been taught to believe. So, yes, mental rest is really important. Emotional rest is also very important. But there's also spiritual rest. And I'm speaking specifically to people who are really in their head about whether they're pleasing God, not pleasing God, if they are getting it right. Is this what God wants me to do? Oh, and all of the beliefs that we hear from pastors, from family, from community on how you're supposed to do faith. This is super personal to me, and recognizing how anxious my spiritual thoughts are, how anxious my spiritual emotions are. It's nice to know that there are opportunities to rest. And in fact, the Bible says so much about this that I'm just in my day to day learning how to lean into that, but also allow for me to share that with other people that believe in the same faith that I do, and they can help me navigate my worries and anxieties and even help me go to God. Sometimes I struggle on my own because I'm so anxious to talk to God that in telling a friend that I'm anxious about going to God, they go to God with me. And it makes it easier to seek God first when I have someone in my corner. I don't know what your faith background is. I'm a Christian and you might not be, or maybe you are, or maybe you're exploring faith right now. There are opportunities to be very stressed out and very overwhelmed and anxious about your religious and spiritual beliefs. And that's not really the purpose for why we have religion. We're supposed to have a sense of rest, knowing that there's something or someone out there, and the world is so much bigger than what we see in the day to day that we might as well just rest that there's just too much for us to try to figure out on our own. But we don't always do that because of the rules and the regulations, many of which are very helpful, but aren't always presented in a way that helps us to realize how helpful they are and how beneficial, how crucial they actually are. Sometimes we don't realize that. And in being able to read the word, I read the Bible, reading the Bible, talking about it with my friends who are also Christian and are looking to please God and follow his will. Those types of conversations make it easier for me to rest when I'm trying to figure it out on my own, whether it's watching all my favorite pastors online and in person, listening to my uplifting Christian podcast, watching Christian YouTube channels. These things are information overload, and I don't get an opportunity to talk it through with people. That's also why I love having a community group through Gather Los Angeles, which is my faith community, and being able to share what I'm thinking, what I'm processing. It's again bearing each other's burdens and realizing that this rest is sacred to the soul. Like the soul actually needs time to process, and it also needs time to realize that because we're not God, we're not going to know and figure out everything in the spiritual realm either. And that's okay. Some of us are still trying to understand this God guy, and some people are reading different religious books and they're exploring, they're trying to figure it out, and they feel anxious because they feel like if they don't figure it out before they die, they don't know where they're going, and all these things that society kind of scares us into believing, and even religious sects scare us into believing. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do that. You actually have an opportunity to just to rest in what you know today, and to believe that tomorrow will present something else that you can process and navigate, hopefully with other people at some point, so that you don't always have to figure all of that alone. And that's restful to know. It's good to know that I can cast all my cares upon Jesus. It's so nice to know that with prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, I can make all my requests known to God, so that the peace that surpasses my understanding can guard my heart and my mind, my thoughts and my emotions in Christ Jesus. It's so nice to know that I can bear my burdens with other people and they can do the same with me. That there's this opportunity to just rest and not feel like if I don't know every answer, if I don't know every single step God wants me to take, that I just can't move. I'm paralyzed and I can't do anything until He gives me the exact instructions. I don't have to stress myself out about that, because I know there's ways that we'll never realize that we're being led. And it's so subtle, it's so gentle, that because we don't feel every moment, we don't see every moment, it's not for us to stress out about. So I'm learning to rest spiritually, and I'm hoping you can learn to do the same, and wherever you are in your journey of exploring God and faith and religion and spiritual living. So why do I say all this? What is the point in all this? Well, again, our society is moving. It's moving, it's going. Sometimes we feel guilty for resting in different capacities. If you're a parent, maybe you feel guilty for taking a break from your kids. If you're a business owner, maybe you feel bad for taking a vacation because you feel like if you're not there, the business isn't generating any money. Maybe you feel very anxious about your financial situation, and the idea that you can't tell how the market's going to go or where your next paycheck is coming from, that it gives you anxiety, especially if you have a lot of debt. Maybe you're struggling with your relationships and you're stressed out with how anyone's going to love you, or if you're going to please your parents. Maybe you're struggling with figuring out, what does God want from me? What is my purpose in life? What am I called to do? Why am I here? Am I pleasing God enough to go to heaven, or am I disappointing Him too much to where I'm going to go to hell? Maybe you really have deep thoughts and emotions surrounding all these things. And even though you go to sleep at night, and even though you do take your nice bubble baths, and maybe even though you go get your hair and nails done, and maybe if you go hanging out with the boys and all those things that you try to do to relax your body, you're not always resting your mind. You don't know how to stay in the moment with the people that are around you, or you don't know how to step away and just have some solitude and rest, to not think about it, to not have to figure out the answer today. So this is my call to you. This is my encouragement to you. And it's actually a plea to myself to remember that you can rest. You can rest in your thoughts. You can rest in your emotions. You can rest in your body, obviously, and you can rest in your spirit. All those aspects of you need rest regularly. I'm encouraging you to find those people that are safe to do that with. Find people that are healthy or becoming healthy, they're on their way, that bring you a sense of rest when you're around them. I'm encouraging you to sometimes step away and let people know you do need a break so you can navigate life and come back more energized and better for yourself and for the people around you. I think it's really important that when we say we do self-care and that we're trying to express self-love, that it's not contingent on how we rest, because we're not always our best when we're not resting. And we're also not really our best when we're over resting. So we want to love ourselves unconditionally. And loving ourselves unconditionally means that we're being kind to ourselves. That's a form of rest versus beating ourselves up. That's a form of slave mastery and being mean to ourselves. There's being able to share with other people what's going on in our lives versus feeling like we have to hold it in and sharing is just not allowed. You're giving yourself more work than you need to in more ways than just your body. Your mind, your heart, and your spirit need rest too. So do whatever you can. And I'm hoping that this is an opportunity that you decide, how am I going to rest this week? And no, I'm not just talking about sleep. How are you going to rest in your holistic being? You need rest. And I hope that your eyes are open in this next week of ways that you're not resting, or ways that you thought you were resting and you realize it's not really rest. Maybe it's just different, but it's not really restful. Let's do some self audits these next couple weeks. And I say next couple weeks because I'm actually going to take a week off from the pod. I know. But the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to take a break. I need to take a break. A lot of this is challenging to think of episodes, to put out content, to edit. And it's also my birthday week, as you know. And so I want to go through my birthday week. I have some speaking gigs coming up too. And so I just want to give myself the opportunity to holistically check in with myself and pour into what's coming while also resting in what's coming to me versus what's coming for me to pour into other people. So I'm giving myself these next couple of weeks, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode. But that's it for today's episode, and I hope that you've learned a lot. I hope that these episodes have been giving you ways to really think and dig deeper, because it doesn't really matter what walk of life that you have. We have these perceptions of how we're going to be doing things, how we're going to be transitioning, how we're resting in transition, how we're dealing with the mess in transition, how we're navigating relationships in transition, all the things that come to us that we don't always know all the steps to. We're here to do that together, and we're here to figure it out. I'm not the perfect one. I'm not the guru. I'm learning with you. So as we journey together, share in the comments below what you've been learning, what you've been processing. Did anything in this episode come up for you that you realize, oh, I need to rest better? Put that in the comments below, and hopefully we can have a dialogue with other people as well that are also trying to navigate this day to day. Thanks for journeying with me in my 34th year, the amount that I gave you guys access to. And I will see you guys in my 35th year by God's grace. Otherwise, love you all. Take care. Stay safe. God bless. And besitos for the last time in year 34. Bye.